Think you know ancient Greece? Think again. From scandals to debauchery to jaw-dropping secrets, beneath the shimmering ideals of democracy lies a secret the Greeks never want you to know. But are you ready to uncover the truth? Ancient Greece, the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, and the Olympic Games. You've probably heard of its grand temples, brilliant minds like Socrates, and epic tales of gods and heroes. But what if I told you that ancient Greece wasn't all about toga parties and philosophical debates? Behind the marble columns and myths lies a world so scandalous and shocking, it'll make your jaw drop. So, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the dirty facts about ancient Greece you didn't know. The not-so-pretty side of ancient Greece. Let's start with something that'll make you think twice about romanticizing ancient times: hygiene. You'd think a civilization that gave us aqueducts and baths would be squeaky clean, right? Wrong. While the wealthy could afford luxurious bathhouses, the average Greek had a very different routine, or lack thereof. For most, daily baths weren't a thing. Instead, they used olive oil to clean themselves. Yep, olive oil. They'd smear it onto their skin, then scrape it off using a curved tool called a strigil. Fancy. Maybe. Effective. Questionable. And while this might sound like an ancient spa day, it was less glamorous when paired with the realities of their public hygiene. Let's talk about toilets. Public toilets, to be exact. Picture communal stone benches with strategically placed holes and zero privacy. Running water, rare. Sanitation, practically non-existent. These public bathrooms were breeding grounds for bacteria, odors, and let's face it, some pretty uncomfortable moments. So next time you imagine strolling through the markets of Athens or Sparta, just remember, not everything about ancient Greece smelled like olives and roses. The Olympic definition of nudity. If you're a sports fan, you probably picture the Olympics as a wholesome celebration of athleticism and unity. But in ancient Greece, the games were, well, quite literally bare bones. That's right, competitors in the ancient Olympic Games competed entirely in the nude. This wasn't just for shock value. It was a way to honor the gods, showcase the human body, and celebrate physical perfection. The word gymnasium even comes from the Greek word gymnos, meaning naked. Athletes believed competing this way symbolizes strength, freedom, and purity. While this might sound liberating, it made for an interesting spectator experience. Married women were strictly prohibited from watching the games under penalty of death, but unmarried women could attend freely. Legend has it, one mother disguised herself as a trainer to watch her son compete and narrowly escaped punishment when discovered. Beyond nudity, the games also featured events like pancration, a no-holds-barred mix of boxing and wrestling that could get shockingly brutal. So next time you're cheering on Olympic athletes in their high-tech gear, remember, the ancient games were as raw as they come. Love, lust, and loose morals. When it came to relationships, the Greeks had some, let's say, unconventional customs. Marriage, for instance, wasn't about love or romance. It was more of a practical arrangement, a way to merge families, secure alliances, and ensure legitimate heirs. In many cases, husbands and wives led largely separate lives. Men handled public affairs, while women were confined to managing the household. Unsurprisingly, emotional intimacy wasn't the focus of these unions. Instead, true affection and companionship were often sought elsewhere. One of the most talked about aspects of ancient Greek relationships is the prevalence of same-sex relationships, particularly between older men and younger boys, a practice known as pederasty. These relationships were viewed as a form of mentorship, with the elder teaching the younger about philosophy, politics, and warfare. However, before you romanticize this, it's important to understand the complexities. The age and power dynamics often made these relationships problematic, raising ethical concerns even in their own time. But that's not all. Extramarital affairs weren't uncommon, especially for men who frequented courtesans, known as hetairae, for intellectual and sexual companionship. These women were highly educated and played a unique role in Greek society, distinct from wives or concubines. So while Greek society is often praised for its cultural and intellectual achievements, its approach to love and relationships was anything but simple. From marriages rooted in practicality to relationships marked by imbalanced power dynamics, their customs reveal a society as complex and messy as any today. Ancient Greece may have celebrated love and beauty, but their practices tell a far more complicated story. The workforce behind democracy. Democracy. ancient Greece's crowning achievement and one of its most celebrated contributions to the modern world. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This shining beacon of freedom was built on the backs of slaves. While free male citizens debated politics in the agora, slaves carried the weight of Greek society. Literally, they worked in fields, harvested crops, and labored in silver mines under brutal conditions to fuel the economy and fund grand projects like the Parthenon. These mines in particular were death traps, with workers enduring suffocating heat, toxic fumes, and relentless physical exhaustion. But the exploitation didn't stop at physical labor. Many slaves were forced into other roles. Some became household servants, cooks, or nannies, while others served as educators for the children of wealthy families. And then there were those who fulfilled darker, more personal duties, coerced into roles that stripped them of dignity and autonomy. Unlike modern perceptions of slavery, Greek slaves came from diverse backgrounds: war captives, debtors, or even abandoned children. They were considered property with no legal rights, yet they formed the foundation of Greek society. For every citizen casting a vote or engaging in philosophical debates, there were countless enslaved individuals ensuring the society functioned smoothly. The irony is hard to miss. While ancient Greece is often revered for its pursuit of freedom and equality, its democratic ideals applied to a select few. Women, foreigners, and, of course, slaves were excluded entirely. So next time you think of ancient Greece as the birthplace of democracy, remember, the price of that freedom wasn't paid equally, and the hands that built it remain largely invisible in history's spotlight. Fashion statements or function? You've seen those stunning statues of Greeks draped in flowing robes, haven't you? The elegant folds, the effortless grace. It's easy to assume their fashion was all about style. But here's the twist. Ancient Greek clothing often served some rather peculiar purposes. Take men's tunics, for example. Known as chitons, these garments were deliberately tailored short for men, especially athletes, warriors, or laborers. Why? To flaunt their legs, of course. In ancient Greece, a well-toned body wasn't just admired. It was a symbol of strength, beauty, and even moral virtue. Men didn't just wear their chitons, they strutted in them. And let's not forget about hairstyles and perfumes. Greek men and women alike were fans of elaborate hairdos, with curls, braids, and intricate updos adorning their heads. But here's the kicker. While these styles looked glamorous, they often doubled as a practical solution for hiding unwashed hair. Showers weren't exactly a daily ritual, so perfumes and oils became essential. These fragrant concoctions weren't just a luxury, they were a necessity to mask the less than pleasant odors of ancient living. Women's fashion, meanwhile, was equally fascinating. Draped in long peplos or himatians, their clothing was often pinned and tied in ways that emphasized their figures subtly. Accessories like jewelry, belts, and even dyed fabrics helped indicate wealth and status. So, while we may admire the elegance of ancient Greek fashion today, it wasn't all about aesthetics. From flaunting physiques to masking hygiene issues, their wardrobe choices reveal a culture deeply attuned to both practicality and presentation. In ancient Greece, fashion wasn't just a statement, it was a strategy. Medicine that'll make you cringe. Ever wonder how the ancient Greeks treated illnesses? While they were pioneers in many areas, their medical methods were often more excruciating than the ailments themselves. The foundation of Greek medicine was the concept of the four humours: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. According to Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine, an imbalance in these humours caused sickness. This led to some rather questionable treatments. Bloodletting, for instance, was a common practice where doctors used knives or leeches to drain excess blood from the body. The belief, restoring balance would restore health. The reality, it often weakened patients further. But it doesn't stop there. Some remedies were as bizarre as they were painful. Take wounds, for example. Instead of cleaning them with antiseptics, which they didn't have, Greek physicians might insert garlic into the injury, believing its strong properties would ward off infection. Ouch. And then there was their fascination with purging. Whether it was vomiting or using laxatives, the idea was to expel harmful substances from the body. While some of these methods had a grain of logic, they were often overdone, leaving patients in worse shape. Yet credit where it's due. The Greeks laid important groundwork for modern medicine. Hippocrates emphasized observation and diagnosis, moving away from supernatural explanations for disease. They also performed surgeries with surprising precision for their time, though without anesthesia, it was a nightmare for the patient. So, while we can thank the Greeks for advancing medical knowledge, we're also grateful we don't rely on their garlic-stuffed, leech-filled treatments today. Ancient Greek medicine may have been groundbreaking, but it wasn't for the faint of heart. Think soap operas are dramatic. The gods were just as dirty. Greek mythology puts them to shame. Zeus, the king of the gods, wasn't just a ruler. He was a professional shapeshifter with a flair for chaos. Swans, bulls, even golden light. He'd transform into anything to seduce or deceive. Subtlety, not his style. Hera, his wife, wasn't one to sit quietly through the drama. As the goddess of marriage, she had her own brand of vengeance, targeting Zeus's lovers and their children with a fury unmatched. Her wrath was legendary, and no one, mortal or divine, was safe from her jealous rage. But Zeus and Hera weren't the only ones stirring the pot. Aphrodite, goddess of love, sparked countless affairs, while Ares, the god of war, thrived on conflict. Even Athena, the wise strategist, wasn't above petty rivalries. The gods were endlessly scheming, betraying and fighting. Mount Olympus wasn't just home to the gods, it was the original stage for eternal drama. A culinary conundrum. Let's talk about food. The ancient Greek diet might seem healthy at first glance. Olives, wine, bread. But not everything was as appetizing as it sounds. Sure, they gave us Mediterranean staples, but their culinary adventures weren't for the faint of heart. Take garum, for instance. This fermented fish sauce was a household staple, but the smell, absolutely pungent. Imagine leaving fish out in the sun for weeks, then deciding it was the perfect condiment. Delicious, right? And if that wasn't enough, they had a fondness for honey-drenched insects. Crunchy, sweet, and utterly bizarre, these snacks were a delicacy, but it wasn't all strange. The Greeks loved fresh fruits, cheeses, and roasted meats, showcasing their mastery of simple, flavorful ingredients. Still, their taste for the unconventional reminds us that food history is full of surprises. The next time you hesitate to try something new, just think, at least it's not garum. Public entertainment gone wild. If you think reality TV is chaotic, Greek theatre would give it a run for its money. Performances weren't just a show, they were a spectacle, and the audience was as much a part of the drama as the actors on stage. The audience didn't sit quietly. They booed, heckled, and even hurled food at performers they didn't like. Imagine being an actor, dodging olives mid-monologue. And the humor, it wasn't subtle. Beneath those iconic masks, Greek comedies were filled with bawdy jokes, crude innuendos, and scandalous satire that pushed boundaries. So there you have it. Ancient Greece wasn't all philosophy and perfection. It was messy, scandalous, and oh so human. But that's what makes history so fascinating, isn't it? If you enjoyed this dive into the dirty side of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And who knows? Maybe next time we'll uncover the scandalous secrets of another ancient civilization. See you soon.